Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the total solar eclipse that happens on Monday, the 14th of December 2020. I'm going to analyze this chart and see what energy the planets bring up and how you can use that effectively. The eclipse happens at 16 minutes past 4 in the afternoon, and that's based on London time. And before I look at the aspects and how the planets are sitting on top of one another, I just want to talk about the mechanics of this. So first of all, it's a new moon in Sagittarius at 23 degrees. And a new moon is something that happens every month. It's when the sun and the moon conjunct each other. The moon goes pitch black, and it pulls in all this wonderful energy from the sun to recharge its batteries and to get going again. So astrologically, the new moon is said to be a wonderful time to plant seeds of intention, because before you run off and actually take any action, you're receiving all this energy, and it's good to plan ahead and to ask yourself how you want to move forward and what you want to focus on. So it's not just a regular new moon, it's a total solar eclipse. So the sun is totally blacked out by this. The moon moves in front of the sun and it's going to cover it completely. So if you've ever seen a solar eclipse, they're really amazing events. The light goes this amazing purple color, the birds stop singing, and it's kind of like the world hits the pause button. It's really amazing. You'll be able to see this if you're in South America. So make sure that you don't miss this. It's going to be a really striking, dramatic event that you'll remember for the rest of your life. I remember I saw a solar eclipse in Germany when I was 8, and I still remember it. So in terms of the timings, it happens at 16 minutes past 4 in the UK, so it's going to be at 16 minutes past 11 on the east side of South America, and I think at 8:15 or 9 in the morning if you're on the western side. Make sure you get the time zone right. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be amazing. So with eclipses, the energy is interrupted by being blacked out or being dimmed, and the energy is then contained and it's released slowly over the next 6 months. So just the same way you would plan ahead with a regular new moon, this energy is going to last until May 2021. So it makes sense to understand what's going on and then to plan ahead for the next 6-month period and to see where you can use your energy most effectively, so you're not always swimming upstream. You're actually using this to your advantage. Eclipses always come in pairs of 2. So we had a lunar eclipse on the 30th of November, and that was a full moon in Gemini. And what happened there was that the Earth moved in front of the moon. Sun's over here, Earth here, moon here. So the shadow of the Earth fell onto the moon, and it dimmed the lights on the moon a little bit. So it's not as dramatic as this is going to be visually. In terms of the astrology, it's the same effect. The energy is interrupted and it's contained for 6 months. So this is the follow-up via the solar eclipse. And there are lots of things here about this eclipse which are kind of contradictory, and I just want to touch on briefly. In astrology, the sun is the center of our solar system. It's our solar plexus chakra. It's about control and power. It's what lights everything else up and gives it support and warmth. In the astrology, it's often associated with people in positions of power, authority figures, kings and queens, governments, that kind of thing. And the moon has more to do with our feelings, the domestic sphere of life, the people, family, taking care of others. So the fact that the moon blacks out the sun, as far as I feel, is that there's going to be a real sense of my needs before the needs of others, my desires and feelings before the rules and regulations. And it's really very empowering because you start to think about your role in all of this. So if you're someone who's kind of felt a little bit lost lately, if the family are saying loads of stuff and your boss is saying this and you're following these instructions and it just feels like, okay, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to and there's a lot. What about me? Then this is a time when that energy really comes back very strongly and you start to think for yourself again as such. You start to say, okay, well, the accountant is telling me this and the bank manager is this, but I actually have some different ideas and I want to do something about them. It's my life, it's my journey, and I'm kind of sick of listening to all of this noise. I want to listen to my needs, and it's really very, very empowering. And if you, again, have felt stuck or anything like you've had a lack of fuel, or things haven't been moving the way you want them to move, this is going to affect you for 6 months, and it will really bring you closer to that inner voice which is guiding you to do things. It's also at 23 degrees, 2 and 3 is 5, and in numerology that's about freedom. So the answer to free yourself isn't necessarily to listen to everyone else and everything in your life, but to ask yourself what it is I want. So don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying ignore all the rules and do whatever it is you want. I mean, we live in a society. If you want to, you know, bash your neighbor over the head, you can't do that because the police will come around. But on the other hand, if you felt so oppressed by everything that's been going on this year, and you're like, oh, there's nothing I can do because it's just like there's a block and there's a barrier, you'll find that inner spark that says, actually, I can get through this. I can see a kind of opening in this block and I can move ahead. So it gives you hope. It gives you a renewed sense of drive and passion about your life. The other thing is that an eclipse can be on the north node of the moon or on the south node. And when these are on the south node, like this solar eclipse is, it's about releasing and letting go of things. And the south node of the moon is at 19 degrees in Sagittarius in retrograde. So what's going to fade away is this desire to escape, or to not deal with anything and to say, I can't, it's too much. Or if you can't escape, there may have been a sense of depression and a feeling that things are overwhelming and they're difficult to deal with. So I'm just gonna sit here and wait it out. The north node and the south node, in this case, is saying that it's time to let go of this constant need to listen to what everyone else is saying. Mercury sits on top of the new moon as well. Mercury is the communication planet. It's at 20 degrees in Sagittarius. 1 and 2 is a relationship, and Sagittarius is the sign of the centaur. Half horse, half man. He's got his bow and arrow, and he's galloping towards something new and amazing. Sagittarius, remember, is ruled by Jupiter, the lucky planet. So when you take action, you will find that the outcome is really surprising and usually very positive. And Mercury will want to reconnect you with your life, the world, other people, and it's going to urge you to make your life bigger and to start moving ahead again. So I don't know if I explained that depression kind of fleeing thing very well. If you have options and you don't like something, you can either say, okay, it's fight or flight. And with this energy that's been around for the last couple of months, it's, okay, I will try and flee and I don't want to deal with it. So avoid, avoid, avoid. But because of the way things have been, a lot of people have been forced to deal with things that they don't want to deal with. And what often happens in that case is that you just shut down. And it's like, well, it's too much, I can't deal with it. So instead of fleeing and escaping, I'm just going to stay here, but I'm going to flee spiritually, mentally, and I'm just going to put the wall down and I'm just going to isolate myself. And that's what's really being detoxed at the moment and what you'll be able to let go of. And Mercury does the opposite. It says, make new ties, make new connections, look at future plans. Do you want to travel? Do you want to change your job? Do you want a new relationship? Do you want to educate yourself? Do you want to connect with the higher realms? It's what do you want? And it's easy to put your finger on that and say, hey, this actually motivates me and this is fun. So this is what I'm going to focus on. And that's not been particularly easy either, because when you're fleeing, it's kind of like, I'm not interested in anything. I can't focus on anything. I just want to get out, or I just want to shut down. So this gives you the power to face your life and what's going on in it, and not just to face it, but to resolve certain issues with a sense of fun and lightness and enthusiasm. So it's a real boost. It's really positive. The new moon then forms certain relationships. First, it forms a square with Neptune at 18 degrees in Pisces. Neptune's a water planet of dreams and intuition. It rules Pisces, so it really opens up the higher realms. The veil is very thin and you're able to connect with your feelings and anything that's unmanifest. Your intuition is very strong. 9 is the Hermit in the Tarot, and it's spirituality in numerology. So what's going to help you on your journey is that you're completely connected to your higher self. You can trust your guidance, your imagination is fired, and you see things very clearly in your mind's eye. So your dreams and your plans for the future, if they've been really nebulous and difficult to access lately, then it's lit up in your mind's eye and you start to imagine what could happen. And it's not just imagining what could happen, but it's thinking outside of the box, being optimistic and saying, I can't even imagine how many good things can happen in my life. And I've kind of got faith here that if I keep moving forward, everything's going to be okay. And things that are beyond my wildest dreams, things I can't manifest because they're so amazing I can't even think of them, those are real options and real things that can happen to me in life. And I'm going to go out and explore, I'm going to go on an adventure, and I'm going to find those magical, wonderful things. So this is like the way out of something that has been really, really difficult, by honoring the self and saying, it's my life, I've got to be happy. I can't just live for the tax man and the accountant and whatever. I've got to do something for myself. So it's really about self-care and exploring the world and opening new things, learning things that are unfamiliar, and really getting a sense of expansion and growth from all of that. So there's friction between the new moon and Neptune. If your gut says, do this, it's going to be fun, don't dismiss it and make sure you make a note of it or you accept that message. It's really important that you work for yourself, that you do something for yourself. Then there's a trine with Mars at 20 degrees in Aries, so we've got more fire, more heat. Mars is the ruler of masculinity. It's about sexuality and passion and what I wanted yesterday, what I desire, and what I'm going to fight for. It's what I'm going to go to war over. It's really what I care strongly about, what I'm not going to compromise on. Mars was the god of war in mythology. It's in Aries, the sign that it rules, and Aries is a ram. Think of it as a battering ram saying, I don't care about your door, I'm going in this castle, and if you're not going to open, then sorry, I'm going to have to knock it down and I'm going to have to march in with my little army. So Mars is saying there is no other option than forward. There's no option than moving ahead with your life to power through, and it's just keep going. Keep going. It doesn't matter if things are imperfect or if you feel like you can't, you're on your last legs. It doesn't matter. We'll give you legs. Keep moving forward. Better times are ahead. Just here's the power. Think about what you want to do with that power, but it doesn't matter as far as Mars is concerned. We just want to give it to you. Empower you. Here you go. Make it happen. 20 degrees again, just like Mercury. So Mercury, Venus, and Mars are the personal planets, and we've got two personal planets at 20 degrees. So relationships are something that become highlighted. Mars wants you to take charge of that side of you, and if there is no passion or sexuality or a sense of joy, enthusiasm, or winning or competition in your life, then Mars is going to connect you to things that bring that into your life. So it's a good time to start connecting with other people, and it depends on your area whether you can do that in person or online. It's new education, new friends, new relationship, things that open up your life and make it exciting again. And it wants you to get some satisfaction out of that. It's not just about connecting with others and pleasing them and trying to fit into their lives, but it's grabbing and taking what you want out of life. You want a business, you start one. You want a relationship, you write to people and you say, I like your picture, speak to me. And it gives you the confidence to actually do that. If you think of the fire signs again, we've got Mars in Aries, so that's the spring, April, everything's coming out again. The astrology is based on the northern hemisphere. So in the northern hemisphere, April, all the little flowers are coming up and nature is waking up, and there's a sense of renewal. Spring is sprung. And Sagittarius is fire in the winter, it's December, and that's the inner fire, the confidence that you can plod through the snow and you can make it no matter how cold it is. And then Leo is the height of summer. That's when all the flowers are open and the couples are kissing in the meadows and it's all fabulous. So we've got spring and winter, the in-betweens here. And it's about starting fresh by believing in yourself. Then we've got the opposition between the new moon and Uranus in Taurus and Black Moon Lilith in Taurus. Black Moon Lilith is the chart's representation of the ego. It's the part where the ego really tries to sabotage you. At 6 degrees in Taurus, it says, hey, what are you going to move forward with? There aren't really any opportunities. Everything's still shut down. You got to wait. You don't have control over what's going on. Listen to the authority figures. Be a good little boy or good little girl. You don't have any control of your life. And it's just like, ugh, that's really disempowering. It's kind of like, even if you have all this fire in the world and all the fuel, there are no roads for you to travel on. And that certainly isn't true. There are loads of things that you can do. So I usually look at Black Moon Lilith and Chiron. Chiron's the other part of the chart where the ego tries to sabotage you. They're the things that are trying to hold you back and say, don't do this, don't do that. And I always read between the lines, and when you do the opposite of Black Moon Lilith and Chiron, you usually end up succeeding and doing what it is that brings you a sense of fulfillment and life purpose and all of that. So Black Moon Lilith is saying you have no control and there are no opportunities, which means there are loads of opportunities and you've got all the control in the world. Uranus is next to it at 7 degrees in Taurus. Uranus is the planet of the weird and the miraculous and the unexpected and the rebellious. It's protesting, it's revolution. 7 is the mind and creativity, and Taurus is the sign that takes control of the earth, over anything practical and tangible. It's ruled by Venus, the planet of love, beauty, creativity. So Uranus is saying there are loads of opportunities that you can seize yourself by getting creative in a practical sense. So by expressing yourself through writing, through art, through travel, through sorting out your living environment, through beautifying your circumstances, creating something that you absolutely love and adore. Or it's creating a chaos in your life by thinking about how it could be different and how you can put a spanner in the works and say, actually, thank you for the plans that you've made for me, but I'm going to do this instead. And that will cause chaos, but sometimes you need to create chaos in your life to get things moving again and to get things back in the ball in your court. Because you can't just follow instructions all the time, and you've got to think about yourself and say, enough. And some people will bulldoze you and they will try and keep you down and quiet, or some circumstances, like if you work in a bank, okay, they will pay you just enough so you can scrape by every month, and they'll give you loads of benefits so that you really invest in your job, and you're like, oh, if I leave this job, I won't have a dentist, I won't have a doctor, I won't have a pension, nothing. So they try and keep you stuck with that, and they just give you as little as possible to kind of not grind you down so you can't work. Obviously that would be too much because then they wouldn't have an employee, but just enough to keep you stuck. And this is someone who worked for Lloyd's, okay, so I know about this. You've got to stand up for yourself at some point and say, I don't care about these benefits. Well, actually I do care about the benefits, but I'm going to do something else that's actually purposeful and meaningful and where I have the same benefit, but I'm not being treated like slave labor. I'm doing something where I'm being appreciated for what I contribute, or I'm doing something for myself that gives me total control. And if you can't say enough, stop, chaos, I want this to blow up because I need to leave, then a lot of people just get stuck and they stay in those situations for much longer than they need to be in them. So this combustible energy here is really explosive because the Sun and the Moon and Mercury are in Sagittarius, and they form this relationship with Uranus, sesqui square rather, 135 degrees away from each other. So the inner fire and the self-belief says you can blow up everything in your life. You can throw everything up in the air and you'll land. You have that faith and belief in yourself that if you do something to invest in your journey, in your life, it's going to work out. So this is great because you don't have any guarantees. If you decide I'm selling the place and I'm moving, then it could be that you end up in a situation which isn't as luxurious, or that you find it difficult to find a new place to live. This energy says do it anyway, because better to move on than the devil you know. And that's a really key tipping point, because a lot of people will stay in situations because it's familiar and it's not perfect, but at least they know everything. They know what it looks like. They know how people talk to them and treat them, and it's familiar. This will say, even though you dislike uncertainty, it's important to embrace it and to move forward, because there's this promise that things can and will get better. And that's really, really powerful. That's something that can transform your whole life, because then it's worth making the effort and throwing everything up in the air and saying, I'm going to start again. I'm just thinking, in my experience, the universe rewards people who take risks on this planet. If you just try and plod on and make everything and everyone else happy, life tends to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So if you do want to expand your life, and if you want to have new experiences, this is really the time to think about what you're going to do. On the 14th, you have the opportunity to think about it and to make actual plans, and then to implement those plans during the rest of December. But remember, because it's an eclipse, the first 5 months of 2021, so 6 months until May 2021, really offer you this opportunity to shrug off all these things which keep you trapped. So you don't have to be a prisoner anymore. You don't have to be someone who just tolerates your life. You get to live it. That's really amazing. We've got an opposition between the new moon and the North Node at 19 degrees in Gemini. Oh, and that's very interesting, especially because of the eclipse on the 30th. The North Node during an eclipse is what's being pulled in. So you're releasing this desire to flee, and you're being given opportunities to take your power back and to choose carefully and to say, I want this. So how can I achieve this? Okay, I want to become a meteorologist and study the weather. So the options I've got is to either join a university and study this as a subject, option 1. I already have a degree in journalism, so I'm going to apply to the BBC, and I'm going to apply for a whatever job, and I'm going to get into that department and get them to train me and to make me an expert in that field. Or I'm going to go to my mentor, my neighbor next door, who already was a meteorologist for 30 years, and I'm going to learn from him, and then I'm going to apply. Or I'm going to go to YouTube and do my own thing. So you got options, right? And it's thinking about things clearly, things that are unmanifest and that aren't in your life yet, but that potentially could be in the future. So you're able to identify your own potential and see it as something that could happen. And sometimes you need to invest in yourself and believe in yourself to say, I could be an expert in fake plants. I could be a tour guide taking people up to Glastonbury Tor. Even though my mother said that I will never amount to anything, I actually could amount to something, as an example, you know? So it's the same thing. You've got to believe in yourself, which you're being given by bucket loads, the self-belief, super confidence. And then the North Node in Gemini actually helps you paint the picture for the future and helps you imagine it. So if you're someone who doesn't like to think in abstract ways, if you have a hard time visualizing or thinking what a future situation could look like, instead you prefer reading and facts and figures and things that you can touch and feel, this is really going to give you a fabulous energy that says, hang on, take a moment, dream, paint the mental picture, and then choose. And the only thing that you need to use to choose this isn't like your degree or what your mentor says. It's what motivates you, what makes you feel like, oh, this would be fun. Oh, that would be really fulfilling and inspiring. And that's all you need. That's your litmus test. That's your feeling that you're looking for. If it motivates you, if it fills you with a sense of excitement, if it gives you a sense of there's a future in this that I might enjoy, then that is enough for you to jump on that option and to do it. Because that's the green light for you to move ahead with something like that. Do I feel motivated? Do I feel inspired? Does it seem fun and enjoyable and like it has a future? If the answer is yes, go for it. Pick that option, jump on it and do it. All right, let's see what else is going on. We don't have any major aspect patterns. We've got a T-square actually. Yes, a T-square has two squares and an opposition creating a big red triangle. You can see that connecting. It's kind of squished on the new moon side. It connects the south node and Mercury and the new moon with the north node in Gemini and Neptune. So the friction, the thing that's going to blow up the existing foundation of your life, if you choose to blow it up, is this spiritual knowing that you can visualize, that your higher self is speaking to you clearly, that you can hear the messages clearly. Also, I'm being told as I'm speaking, is that you may get messages from other people in your life, but not instructions. Someone may say something. Oh, I just looked at a house in London and it was really cheap and it's empty at the moment. Like you overhear that, it's like, oh, I was just going to move to London. Then really look at things like that. Or the symbols and messages come via nature. It doesn't have to be a burning bush. It can be something that just confirms what you're planning. So I don't know, if you're planning to make a move and suddenly a sunflower appears in a shop window, then take that as a sign that you should either move by the summer or that it's going to be really easy for you to take your power and to move over the next couple of months. You know, like try and read the symbols around you. And what other ways can symbols come? Through other people, nature, yeah, listening to your higher self. Oh, but the thing that is going to be really helpful is that as soon as you see the symbol or you get the message, the usual doubt that would be accompanied by that message or that would accompany the message isn't going to be there. It's going to be like, bang, oh wow, I feel this. It must be true. I get the message, and there's an instant sense of recognition. And if there is that sense of recognition, then take that message and run with it. The doubt is really something that isn't going to be around today because it's kind of evaporated by all this fire. I love. Okay. What else? We've got... Oh, we've still got Saturn, Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn. We've got the Christmas star happening on the 21st. I'm going to make a video about that. I've been trying to make that video for a while now. I've researched it, but I don't know, for some reason it's been so difficult making that video. So watch this space. I'm going to try and get that out as soon as possible. But while Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto are still in Capricorn, structure, planet, good luck, change, in the sign of the worker, Earth, Capricorn, they're asking you to contemplate the structures of your life and whether they still suit you. So is the job you hate really the only job you can do? Is the place you live the place that you have to stay in for the rest of your life? Don't think in absolutes. Try not to make it black and white, and let that inner fire burn and say, I will embrace the uncertainty and move ahead. Okay, yeah, that's it, I think. Yeah, Chiron in Aries focuses on Venus in Scorpio via trine. Venus in Scorpio 28 degrees really gives you a sense of ownership when it comes to your own feelings, and it means you don't shy away or you don't flee from things that are difficult and unresolved. You're able to address those lovingly without panicking. So if you have to do something, and or you want to do something, as soon as you think of it, you start sweating and it's like, oh, I can't, it's panic mode. Venus and Saturn allows you to look at that unresolved issue and to say you don't need to panic. You can actually look at it and get messages on how to resolve it, which is so important that you're patient with yourself and your situation so that you can actually plan the steps that you need to take to move out of that situation. Chiron's going to try and stop that, because Chiron, remember, tries to sabotage you. At 4 degrees in Aries, it says, well, if you do something by yourself, you're never going to create structure. You're throwing away this great job that you hate and which pays you money every month. And you're what? Trading that in for an uncertain future? Yeah, actually I am. Because my higher self has told me it's time to move on, and I'm going to listen to that. Thanks, ego. See you later. Again, when Chiron says something like, You can't do it by yourself. You can never create structure. It means when you do it by yourself, you do create structure. Ceres is at 7 degrees in Pisces. You have to be there for yourself. That trines the part of fortune at 0 degrees in Cancer. Be your own mother and father. Really treat yourself as you would a child. Listen to your inner child and says, what is it that you want out of this life? I'm going to make it happen for you. I'm the adult now. I know how to do certain things. I've learned things as I've gone through life. And you want this? Okay, I'm going to make it happen. And it's really important that you're there for yourself, because all this fire, it needs to go somewhere. And the energy needs to be directed by you making some sort of plan, or asking yourself, is this going to be fun and positive? Or am I just kind of getting myself into another situation which is going to make me feel safe and stuck? And why am I doing it? Well, it's not so much why am I doing it, it's, okay, we know that security and all of those things are important, but been there, done that. And what we're trying to figure out now is how to bring some expansion into life and some texture to the landscape of my everyday experience. So being an accountant would give me that as an example. So don't panic and say, I don't have an accountancy degree, I'm going to have to go to school for 3 years. Ugh. Take care of yourself, take a breath and say, okay, you want to be an accountant, let's see how we can make this happen. And really talk to yourself the way I'm talking, like be there for your inner child and say, there, it's going to be fine. You want this, so I'm going to honor it and help you do it. You're the grown-up and the inner child is right there. Pick it up, I don't know, sit it on the back of your shoulders and let it see the world and have some fun with it and say, I will make things happen. It's time to honor you. That's really important, because I think we sometimes forget that we're not machines. We're not robots who can just take. We have to do things for ourselves. We have to find some nurture and comfort in life. It can't just be work and brutal and success and ambition and what I should have been doing and what the kids need. And you can't live like that. Sooner or later, you'll crack, because you're not a robot. You're a spiritual being, and you have to show some affection and care for that spiritual being for it to get all of the good things in life, because your inner child wants all the best for you. So listen to it. It knows everything. It's really got your best interest at heart, really. And that's it. I'm just checking the chart if I've missed anything. Nope. T-square, yeah. It's like a cornerstone that you can blow to smithereens. Hooray. Doesn't mean that your life is going to crumble during this eclipse. It's the opportunity to move on from situations which are too rigid and which you've been in for too long and which keep you stuck. So have a wonderful eclipse. Oh, and please send those images if you do find any. Oh, and just a warning, solar eclipse, you can't look at the sun with the naked eye. Just FYI. You get special glasses. If you look at the sun with the naked eye, it damages your eyes. And really don't look at it with binoculars. It'll burn your eyes out. Okay. So, have a great time. If you would like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, click on Book Your Readings to order your reading with me. In my personal readings, I'll draw up your chart the way I've drawn up this chart. So I take your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. I get a snapshot of the sky at the moment you were born, and then I can read your chart and what's going on for you. I can also put these transits around your chart and see how these eclipses, plural, 30th of November and here 14th of December, affect you and what your 6 months are going to look like. It'll contain this energy, but it'll translate it into a certain area of your life. So if it's happening in your 5th house of romance, then that's going to be heightened and a theme. If it's in your 2nd house of money, then there's a lot you can do there. So if you're interested in seeing how these things affect you particularly, then please get in touch with me via my website, gregoryscott.com. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and share the video online. Have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. All the best.